Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us today. We're kind of excited because we've never joined an audience like this before, where we've talked about more of the questions from women thinking about adoption for a child. So I look forward to hearing from all of you in the audience today. My name is Libby Murray, and this is Lifetime Adoptions. We're going to try and do this more as an open question and answer time, but this is really a time for you to get information you need while you think about what you want to do. And we want for you to know that if you have questions that you may feel more comfortable asking us one-on-one, you can always call us toll-free any time of day. The number is 1-800-923-6784. You can also chat live online. The best way to get to that is at lifetimeadoption.com. You can email from there, or you can even access us. Just if you have a smartphone, you can go to myadoptionapp.com and get our free adoption app and communicate with us from there too, if that's easier. But we're happy to text message with you or email or whatever's comfortable, and all you have to do is reach out and let us know the best way that works for you. I'm happy to welcome to our call today Diane Schaefer, who is one of Lifetime's adoption coordinators, and I think beyond that too is just one of Lifetime's staff that's able to offer you answers wherever you're at in the decision-making process. So Diane, welcome so much. Are you there?
Yes, I sure am. Thank you, Libby. It's so good to be here, and I'm looking forward to the questions.
Great. If you're new to webinars, I just want to go over a couple ways that you can communicate with us today. If you're joining us online, you can see on your screen there is a box. It's either called questions or chats, and you can type a question right there to us. It'll only go to us. No one else will see it, and Diane and I will see that, and we'll answer that today. And if you're joining us by phone but you still have access to your email, you can email me directly, and that's Libby, L-I-B-B-Y, at lifetimeadoption.com. So, you know, we had one question come in while we were waiting to start up today, so I'm glad that we can jump right in here, Diane.
Okay.
I think it's kind of a big one to jump into, but I do think probably many of you on the call today might be wondering the same thing. But this woman asked, how do you decide, or how do you know what you want for future contact, or if you want future contact through an open adoption?
That's a great question. That's a good place to start, too. Everybody has kind of a different idea, their hopes in choosing an adoption plan as far as contact. Some of our birth mothers are requesting closed adoptions. There are some that are requesting a semi-open adoption, which would be getting letters and pictures, and also you'd meet the family. And others are actually requesting much more open adoptions, where in addition to getting letters and pictures and talking to the family on the phone, they're actually getting together and meeting maybe once or twice a year. So it's something that is a really good idea to kind of think through kind of what you would like as far as like contact. And you don't have to have an open adoption. It's definitely your choice what you want. It's something that it varies. And something else, too, to be kind of aware of is sometimes the desire for contact can change after baby's born, too. So it's a really good idea to kind of think through that. And we have resources available for you to help you with that. You can talk to a peer support person from other women that have chosen adoption, so they can share about what they kind of have experienced with contact. So that's a real good, a good thing to kind of take advantage of. There's also phone counseling available too to kind of help you sort through that. And we're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So whenever you have a question, you have a concern, you want to talk something over, we're here to help you with that.
So we had a follow-up question come into that, because you mentioned that once the adoption happens, that, you know, maybe, because I know I've worked with many women before who thought they wanted the adoption to go one way as far as staying in touch afterward. But then once the adoption happened, they felt differently, and so we had a follow-up question come in here. It just said, well, what happens if I'm not sure that I want contact after the adoption happens, but I told them that I did before it happened?
That's fine. That's your choice at that point. What we do like to kind of leave open as an option is sometimes that will happen, and a birth mother might say, you know what, I decided I don't want any contact. I've met the family. I feel very comfortable. I kind of want to move on, and I don't want to have any contact. Although maybe that might change after a year. And so we're going to be available to where if you decide that you might want to get a letter and picture or maybe might want an update, then you just need to let us know, and then we can do that for you. But it is your choice what you want. And some women feel more comfortable having contact. Others feel more comfortable just maybe getting letters and pictures. And then again, even some, they just would like to meet the family at the hospital, and they feel secure in knowing that that baby is going to have a good life, and you know they want to kind of move on with their life. So we want the adoption to go how the birth mother is feeling most comfortable, and that can be different with everybody.
So really that would be the same answer too if it went the other way. Like if, you know, if she said maybe initially that she didn't think that she would be comfortable keeping in touch afterward, and then a year or so later thought, I'm really curious about how my baby's doing and about the family that I helped to put together, you know, so they could also still go in that direction too. Just basically, so what you're saying is that it's not written in stone.
Exactly, exactly. Cool. But it is a really good thing to kind of think about and talk over, and talk over with the adoptive family too. It's something that I think a lot of times when there might be issues that arise after baby's born, if things were kind of talked through at the very beginning, there's a lot of less of that type of thing happening. So again, just real good to have that relationship with the adoptive family to where you feel comfortable sharing. Also with Lifetime too, being in contact with us, letting us know how we can best help you too.
Great, thank you, Diane. And again, if you have a question for today, you're welcome to type it into the questions or chat box on the screen. We had another question come in, and I know I get asked this a lot of times, especially from women who maybe aren't really sure yet what they want to do, and they're just feeling out the choices they have available through adoption. But Diane, this caller asked, what if my baby's father isn't involved? Do I have to track him down to do adoption? How does that work?
That's a great question, because that can affect the outcome of the adoption too. And what we like to do when we do an initial phone call with the birth mother is try to find out as much as we can about birth father and kind of his thoughts about the adoption, because it can affect the outcome of the adoption. What we can do, since state laws vary considerably, if there are any questions about the legal aspect of the adoption, such as birth father's rights, do they have to sign off, are they going to be notified, things like that, we try to find out as much information as we can, and then if we need to talk to an attorney, we can do that for you too. Because again, state laws vary as to what needs to happen with most birth fathers to terminate their rights. But in most cases, what happens, from my understanding, is they are notified of the adoption and are sent paperwork. Now, in a lot of these cases, a lot of birth fathers might just choose to ignore the paperwork. So what can happen then in most of these situations is there's a certain time frame that the birth father would have where he can make his feelings about it known. And if he doesn't respond within a certain amount of time, then they usually terminate rights within a certain time frame. So again, that can vary. If say, for instance, if you have a birth father that is really not sure if he feels comfortable with adoption, what we would really encourage you to do is bring him into the process. He has the option of talking to the adoptive family, of meeting with the adoptive family, just like you do. It can really ease those worries that a birth father has by letting him have that, contact with the adoptive family too.
Mm-hmm. So we had a question come in while you were saying that. They said, well, forget if he's involved. What if you don't, even know who he is? Because I know that can be a sticky situation with some women too. And believe me, if any of you on the call are thinking, you don't know the half of it, or, just wait till you hear my story, you're welcome to talk to us about anything, really, because I don't want to say we've heard it all, because that makes it sound like you're just one of a pack, but everyone's story is different. Everyone's situation is so different. And no two adoptions are the same. No two women are the same. No two adoptive families are the same. And so really, if it gets down to some things, that you think, well, that's fine for someone else, but my situation is so different, or it's so complicated, you can talk to us about it. And again, if you want to talk one-on-one, and it's all confidential too, right, Diane? What does that mean by confidential? I know we say that a lot, but
Right. Well, and what I kind of wanted to say before that, Libby, I kind of was thinking about this, is that we're not here to judge you. We're here to help you, to meet you where you're at, and to help you, and to be sure that everything is handled in the proper.
Oh, Diane, your phone cut out. Diane, are you there? Can we hear you? I don't know what happened to Diane's phone. But what she was saying was just that we are really here to just help you wherever you're at. And for those of you on the call who might be thinking, well, I came here, but I'm just not really sure how I feel about adoption, that you can talk to us and not be decided at all. Hang on just a second. I think we may be having some audio difficulties.
That person had indeed registered on there. But that's nothing that birth mother has to do. That would be actually the responsibility of the birth father if he indeed wanted to parent that baby.
I'm sorry about that, Diane. I lost audio. I don't know what happened. Appreciate you keeping that going here. For those of you on the call, if you're looking at your screen, if you're joining us online, you can see a little yellow hand. And if you can hear us, go ahead and push the little yellow hand. I just want to make sure we're back up and running here. Great. Thank you so much. We got a lot of hands. Thank you. So I'm sorry, Diane. So we left off, and you were talking about the father, questions about the baby's father. But also, were you able to discuss a little bit more about, how it is that we keep things private and confidential?
Right. Oh, sorry, I got kind of a little sidetracked there.
It's okay. No, it's okay.
I answered the question. Yes. As far as like privacy, with our, kind of like an example, our information, when we do mail information, we never put anything about adoption on the outside of the package. So we want to request your confidentiality by that. Also, some of our clients would request contact by email. They don't want anything coming to their house. It might be maybe they have a cell number that they would prefer us to reach them at and not a home number. When we leave messages, we will not say anything about adoption in the message. So that's a way that we respect confidentiality too. And then also we ask you when we're talking to you at the beginning, is it okay to call you? Is it okay to leave a message? Because we know that there might be certain living situations where maybe there's a family member living in the home and you don't want them to know about the adoption yet. Maybe it's something that you're planning on not telling them about. So that's why we try very hard to respect confidentiality in that way.
Great. We had a question come in as kind of a follow-up to something we were discussing a few moments ago about when you said that if there are any legal concerns that you can always have them talk with an attorney.
Yes,
and this woman just simply asked, do I have to pay for that, or how much is that?
No, there is no cost for the legal aspect to you. That will be covered by the adoptive parents. Also, Lifetime does a lot of networking with adoption attorneys all over the United States. So if you might have a question, maybe before you even get into deciding if adoption is the right choice for you and your baby, maybe you want to get a legal question answered about birth father rights. So what we can do is we can contact an attorney, and you don't even have to talk to the attorney. We can do that for you, and you just let us know kind of what your situation is and what your question is, and then we can get that answer for you and then get the information back to you. But definitely there is no cost whatsoever to the birth mother for the legal aspect of the adoption.
Great. And hang on, Diane, I want to check something just technically here. And again, if you want to get your question in here, you know, we don't necessarily have a specific set time today, so if it's a quiet audience, we may wrap up a little sooner than usual. But I know that you guys are kind of chiming in here as we go along, which is great. But if you have something on your mind that that you want to know, or that you've heard others say before about adoption and you're not sure if it's true or what to expect, you know, feel free to type that into your questions box on your screen. But hang on just a second, I want to check something. Okay. So we did have another question come in here, and it was kind of along the lines of what you said earlier about how you can talk with other women who have chosen adoption, sort of like peer counseling.
Yes, definitely.
Do you, or does Lifetime offer counseling?
What we do is we do have referrals to a counselor who can call the birth mother, and we usually try to find out what time works good. And there's also, you can meet face-to-face with a counselor if that's something you would prefer, although what we would suggest you do is start out with the phone counseling and then kind of talk to the phone counselor and kind of see at that point kind of what your needs are, and then, you know, we can kind of move forward at that time. Now, if you are requesting face-to-face counseling, most adoptive parents have some budget allowed for that. Sometimes it's a state requirement to have so many counseling sessions, and so the adoptive parents will cover that. So you would not have to pay for that. That would definitely not be the birth mother that would have to pay for it. So the adoptive parents would cover counseling related to the adoption.
Excellent. And so what do they have to do if they wanted to talk with one of the peer counselors?
Well, what we would have you do is fill a little bit of information out with us, and then so we'd learn a little bit more about you, and then we would make contact with the peer support person, and then in some cases maybe you might want to email with the peer support person. In other cases maybe you want to talk on the phone with them, so we can get that set up for you. And I think we have several peer support women that help with our birth mothers, and I think you'll find too, if you talk to both, several, 2 or 3 of them, that they each have different experiences, and they each might have a different open adoption with the family too. And some might be more recently that they chose adoption, others it might be quite a few years ago. So it gives you kind of a real good variety of them and kind of their experiences. And again, we understand each person's experience is different. So, you know, as please, at the very beginning, if you can let us know how we can best support you, whether that be through peer support, whether that be our phone counselor, whether that be with just being available for you to call and talk to us. We're very reachable, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So now, Diane, what if,
go ahead.
Because I know that, and I would probably, I'm kind of like this, and it's like I go along and I think I'm doing okay. What if a woman doesn't feel like she needs counseling when she's just thinking about it, or even when she's chosen adoption, but she's moving through matching with the family and waiting for the baby's birth, but then, like, the baby comes and she's thinking, I didn't expect this. Can I talk to a counselor now? Is it too late? Can she decide on that anytime? Okay, good.
It's never too late, yes. And, some women take more advantage of the counseling after the baby's born, and even after they've signed their paperwork. Everybody has kind of a different grieving process that they go through, and it is. I mean, with adoption, I mean, it is a loss for the birth mother with that baby, with that relationship. But with open adoption, I mean, that relationship can continue. But through that process with adoption, there is going to be that grief process, and everybody's going to react differently to that. Some women need more support than other women do, but we're going to even be there after the adoption. If, I get calls every once in a while from women that have placed several years ago, and maybe they just kind of need support, or maybe they're trying to reconnect with the family. They've just kind of moved several times, and they've just kind of lost contact. So we're going to be there for that support, whether that's before the adoption, whether that's after the adoption, whether that's, so many years after. Everybody's different, and everybody needs different levels of support. So again, please, speak up. Let us know how we can help you.
Excellent. Yeah, I think what you said earlier too, it's just never too late, and that's true of adoption in general, right? I mean, is there a set time a woman has to know during her pregnancy that she's going to do adoption?
Oh, no. I mean, we have people that contact us that are not really sure about adoption. They just kind of want to gather the information, and they want to think about it. We also might get the call from maybe a woman that came into the hospital and gave birth and gives us a call and says, you know what, I want to choose adoption now. So then we can get everything pulled together. We can get a family there before baby's released. We can get an attorney on board. We even have clients that we work with that want to wait until the baby's born to make their decision, and we can definitely do that. Some women might want to try parenting. Maybe family have shared, like, oh, you know what, we're going to help you. So, we're going to go ahead and try and parent this baby. But then maybe the birth mother might decide, you know what, I've tried this for, 3 months, and everybody's not really helping, and I want to kind of revisit the idea of adoption. So then we can meet her where she's at that time and kind of pick up and help her with an adoption plan.
We had a question come in just now. It was a woman. Thank you, Sharon, for sharing this question. I think this is a good one that maybe many on the audience are wondering, but she has been looking on our website and saw a couple families that she was thinking she might like to learn more about. What would be the next step if she saw a couple that she wanted to talk to? Does she have to be completely decided that she wants to do adoption yet? Well, how would that go if she thinks, well, that might help me decide as if I could learn more about them?
Well, that's kind of, that a lot has to depend on, too, is kind of about how far along is she with her pregnancy. If she's really super, super early in her pregnancy, then we're probably not going to get the birth mother connected with the family, because during those early months, those early weeks, there's so much going on, and there's so many things to be thinking of, and we want to be there as a support, but I think it's probably kind of how we feel. It's best to kind of wait until usually about 16 weeks into that pregnancy before you kind of get connected talking to family. Now, if maybe it's a question that you're wondering about from the family and you're earlier than that, Sometimes we've made a few exceptions and even kind of gotten birth mothers connected with families a little bit before that. Maybe by email, we'll let them email back and forth for a little bit. So, you know, that might be a possibility too. But again, those first few months are so, you know, there can be so much going on, and you're just kind of accumulating all the information, kind of getting used to the feelings, kind of everything going on, you know, starting to feel the baby move, and it's kind of becoming more real to you too. And I think that kind of brings up one of the reasons too we like to wait until about 16 to 20 weeks to get you connected with families, is because by that time in most cases you've kind of felt the baby move and really been able to experience the pregnancy and that, you know, the movement of that baby too. So it becomes a lot more real too. So
we had a follow-up question to that too, Diane. So can they meet the family in person?
Definitely. You can meet the families in person. We just ask, let us know what you're hoping for. And I've been working with several clients recently, and they want to actually meet several families before they make a decision. And so they're going to be having face-to-face meetings. So again, some people feel comfortable talking to a family by phone, maybe Skyping, kind of getting to know them, and then feel comfortable matching. Others want to wait before they decide on the family by meeting face-to-face. So again, really important to dialogue with your coordinator that's working with you what your wishes are.
Great. And so does the same thing happen for people who may have already given birth? You know, if they're thinking about adoption after their baby's born, or maybe they have a toddler that they're considering adoption for, you know, how long do they have to wait to connect with an adoptive family then?
You know what? If the baby's already here, we can actually get you connected very, very quickly. We will need some paperwork completed. There's a questionnaire completed, and if the baby's already born, some sort of documentation, like maybe a copy birth certificate if it's arrived yet, maybe something from the hospital showing that the baby was born, just sort of some sort of documentation. And then we can get you connected with the family. You can meet families too. Things can happen very quickly once we know for sure that this is definitely something you want to do, and we know the family that you want to place your baby with. We work with very knowledgeable attorneys that can jump into action very quickly to get the paperwork handled. But we would encourage you to meet with the family in those cases with the children already being born and here. Maybe you might want to meet with them several times. Maybe you might want them to come out, meet with them, then maybe they kind of go back to their hotel, and then maybe you think about things for a day or two, then you guys get together again and then decide what you want to do. So there's a lot of options. You know, we want to make sure that we take the birth mother's wishes into consideration on how she wants her adoption plan to go.
Okay. And a question came to mind while you were talking about that, Diane. And now I just completely lost it. Let's move on to another question that was typed, and then maybe mine will come back. We did have someone type in, because you were talking earlier about the kinds of paperwork or the information that we might need from them before they talk with a family, and you said proof of pregnancy. This woman asked, what do you mean by proof of pregnancy? What is that?
Right. Now, a proof of pregnancy would be something from your doctor's office or clinic that says that you are pregnant. It would have your name on it. In most cases, it's got a due date on it, not always. But just some sort of documentation that you were seen and did have a pregnancy test. A copy of an ultrasound, as long as it has your name on it, could be proof of pregnancy too. Date and name would need to be on there too. So also, you can actually have your doctor fax us a proof of pregnancy directly from their office. So that's an option too.
Okay. I did remember as you were saying that too, and I wrote it down after talking with a woman last night when I was available after hours, and we were having a conversation about adoptive parents, and she asked, and I know I hear this a lot, she said, how do I know the adoptive family is safe?
That's a good question, and you know, that's a real common question too. In order to be able to adopt in the United States, a family has to have what's called a home study. Mm-hmm. And the home studies are done by social workers in the adoptive family's area. And they do things like fingerprint background checks. They check financial backgrounds to make sure the family can afford to raise this child. They come into their home and they do safety checks. If they have a swimming pool, they make sure that it's child-proofed, fences around. They check to make sure they've got locks on cabinets, for like cleansers and things like that are out of reach. And the social worker will meet with, usually they have several meetings. They meet with the adoptive mom and then the adoptive dad, and then usually they have a meeting with them both together. So then what they'll do is they'll write a report, and that is called a home study. And again, in order to be able to adopt in the United States, a family has to have a home study.
Okay. Great. Well, I want to thank all of you for making this go by quickly. This has been a fast webinar today, and you've had amazing questions. And I know that we had a few people jump in after we had already begun. And I just want to say, we've been recording this, and that if you want to get access to hearing the recording later in case you want to follow up on anything you missed, you are welcome to reach out to us. Again, you can call us 24/7. The number is 1-800-923-6784. And Diane, I wrote down a question here just because I know that I see from our audience here that I recognize that a lot of these women have already contacted Lifetime previously. And one woman even said, well, I've already reached out. What is my next step once I'm thinking about adoption?
Mm-hmm. And again, that would probably depend on where she was at in her pregnancy, but what we would like you to do is complete a questionnaire, and you can actually do that online. Very easy. It doesn't take long to do. We can email that to you, mail it to you, and we like to have that information.
Oh.
Better able to help you and be a little bit more about you.
Wait, Diane, I don't know. Are you there, Diane?
I can wait the option.
Okay. Well, I apologize for the audio issues today. If you can hear me, feel free to press the raise hand button. But I can't hear Diane. It looks as if I'm still connected, but I just want to thank all of you for joining us today. And if you have any further questions or you want to talk one-on-one, feel free to call us anytime, literally anytime, weekends, holidays too. Our number is 1-800-923-6784. And I will look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.